Starting. We are now live. Okay, so this is podcast number 5, and it's all about foreclosures. So 5, 4, 3.
If you are a real estate investor or you want to be a real estate investor and you're interested in learning how to find deals before any other real estate investor even know they exist, don't go anywhere, because I'm getting ready to plug you into this very, very secret strategy on finding deals before other real estate investors know they exist. Welcome to the Jay Conner Show. I'm Jay Conner, mostly known as the Private Money Authority, broadcasting to you on this show from Morehead City, North Carolina, my hometown. And I'm excited to still yet again have as my guest host, co-host, Chaffee Nguyen from Chicago, Illinois. Hello, Chaffee.
Hello, Jay, and hello, everyone else out there.
Chaffee, thank you so much for being available to come on the show with me again. Have we been having fun or what?
It's been a blast, Jay. It's always a pleasure working with you.
Yeah.
We always have a good time.
Same here, Chaffee. Same here, Chaffee. So in case you are new to the Jay Conner Show, what in the world are we doing here on the show? Well, we talk a lot about secret strategies for real estate investors. Talk a lot about investing in single-family homes. If they need rehabbing, how to get them rehabbed quickly, on time, on budget. We talk about finding deals, of course, as I just mentioned at the beginning of this show. We, for the first time, are going to pull the curtain back and reveal my stealthy strategy on finding really, really hot deals before other real estate investors know they exist. Of course, we talk a lot about funding for deals, private money, not relying on banks or mortgage companies. We talk about selling them fast, so we reduce our carrying costs. We talk about automation. We talk about commercial deals, etc. And Chaffee, one thing I really enjoy having you here on the show as well, is for the reason is we talk about, mindset, personal development. In fact, chime in here for a moment, Chaffee, and give the listeners and viewers a little taste of, the mindset stuff that we've talked about in the previous shows.
Well, we've talked about, we start off talking about some of our books that we like to read, some of the influences that we've had. And really it boils down to understanding yourself and your abilities and your skill set and your strengths and weaknesses, so that you can take what you share on this show and in your live class, Jay, and really implement it. So it's not just a matter of knowing what to do, it's actually doing it and understanding the process of doing it. And more importantly, when you hit that wall, when you hit that challenge, or when you hit a problem or something that pops up, do you stop, or do you keep moving through? Do you get around it? Do you get under it, through it, over, whatever it takes, right? And that's that mindset piece. That's the gray matter between the ears moving you forward. So that's why we talk about it here, because you get that down. If you understand that piece, then you can get through those challenges and you can make that deal happen. And that's where you succeed at.
Exactly. There's a bridge between knowledge and implementation.
Exactly.
And so that's why, folks, that's why Chaffee and I include the personal development mindset piece. As we've said, until you own the real estate between your ears, you may not ever own any real estate as in dirt, right? So Chaffee, before we plug them in to the finding deals before other real estate investors, let's ask folks, if you are viewing us on YouTube, please subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the information that we're coming out with. Also, give us a thumbs up and like the video. And also, we'd love to hear where people are tuning in from. So in the comment bar, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and put hi, your first name and what city and state you're from. And if you're listening on iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review. Subscribe, rate, and review. So Chaffee, before we get into this show's topic, let's go ahead and plug people in to what we promised. Mm-hmm. So we've got a free online class, folks, a free online class on demand waiting for you to go and watch and take notes and learn about this secret strategy. On the show today, I am going to give the 30,000 foot view, But if you really want it step by step and diving deep, here's where you want to go, folks. Go to www.jayconner, and if you're listening and not viewing, that's an ER, JayConner.com/foreclosure podcast, all one word, jayconner.com/foreclosure podcast. So Chaffee, let's go ahead and jump in. So what are we talking about today?
Well, Jay, you teased about it a couple times, so I think you should really talk about how you find deals before anybody else does out there. So well, we dive right into that.
You know, you must have ESPN because you read my mind, right? So, so here's the deal, folks. Carol Joy and I, we have been investing in single-family houses here in Eastern North Carolina for the past 15 years. A little over 7.5 years ago, we actually started training real estate investors or new real estate investors how to do the business like we do. We do 25 to 30 live events a year. One reason I have Chaffee on here, folks, co-hosting the show with me is because Chaffee is at all of my live events. He's my lead coach. He does free one-on-one strategy sessions, at the live event. And so Chaffee gets to meet all of the attendees and my students that come to the event, and he gets to hear the common questions. By the way, Chaffee, that reminds me, speaking of free strategy sessions, at the end of that online class that we just gave out, jayconner.com/foreclosure podcast, they will be able to claim a free strategy session with us one-on-one, of course, over the telephone. So that's another reason y'all want to go watch that free online class, folks, is so you can take advantage of the free strategy session that you learn how to claim that at the end of the class. But anyway, as I said, we've been investing for 15 years. And here's how I started out. Carol Joy and I, we first hired our real estate attorney to learn about the foreclosure, the way it works in North Carolina. By the way, folks, and y'all excuse my telephone ringing, but I'm right here in my office, so the telephone's ring. So, there's one piece of advice I give people. Chaff, you've heard me say this, and that is one way you can learn about how the foreclosure system works in your state that I don't recommend is stop making your mortgage payments, and you'll learn very quickly how the foreclosure process works. But I don't recommend that way. So I hired my real estate attorney when I started out to explain it. I went to the clerk of court at the courthouse, and I went there totally humble, not pretending to know anything about how the process works. And I went there with the mindset, since we're talking about mindset, of serving other people. I'm not coming there. This process has not got anything to do with taking advantage of people. This system is about, and the way I do the foreclosure business is coming from the perspective of having a servant's heart. In fact, when myself and my team talk to a potential seller, the owner of a house and they're in foreclosure, then the first thing we ask them is, do you want to keep your property? Do you want to keep your house? And if they do, of course, we tell them we're not attorneys. We're not, I can't give you any legal advice, but I can give you some experience as to how you could keep your home. So, and there's nothing in that for us, if they do that. So this system we put together we started 15 years ago, and Carol Joy and I put it together, and we've been using it ever since. Of course, we've tweaked it, improved it, but it accounts for 25% of the deals that we do. So the system itself, Chaffee?
Yeah, Jay, I believe I've heard you talk about there's two main components of the system. So you want to share what those two main components are for everyone?
Sure. So there's two categories or components. Your word's better, component. There's two components that make the system work. First of all, there is the tracking of the foreclosures. So that's the first component. We got to track them. All right. The other component is the marketing or the direct mail. All right. So when we started out 15 years ago, Carol Joy actually herself went to the courthouse. Now, I told her from our meeting with the real estate attorney, I told her, here's the information that we need to get on every file. So in North Carolina, it's in the clerk of court's area. And of course, it's called the special proceedings room. All right. It is public record. So everyone has access to it. So we decided what information that we wanted, okay, to track and to keep current. All right. And so Carol Joy put all that together. Now, a few years ago, Carol Joy didn't have to go to the courthouse anymore. We hired a courthouse assistant that actually goes to the courthouse for us. And some folks will say, I don't have the money to afford to hire a courthouse assistant. Well, our average profit per deal now is over $60,000. You know what we pay the courthouse assistant to keep all those files current? A whopping $75 a week. So, you know, in a month's period of time, who would not be willing to trade $300 a month for $60-some thousand in profit, right?
That's not a bad deal, Jay.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good ROI, return on investment, you know, Chaffee. The other component is the marketing of direct mail letters. So that was my piece that I put together. And of course, we've improved those letters since 15 years ago. But here's what's crazy. We get a unbelievable 57% response rate to these letters. That's cumulative. So some will respond to letter number 1, some will respond to letter number 2, number 3, and there's 8 of them. Of course, when they respond, we stop mailing. Now, let me be totally transparent, Chaffee. When I say a 57 response rate, a response does include vulgarity. Okay. So, yes, some people do not appreciate the letters or they offer a solution to their difficulty. And they'll say, you know, take me off your list in not a very, very nice way. But the percentage of those responses are very, very small. So those are the 2 categories: tracking each file, what's the current status, you know, when's the hearing date, when's the sale date, and the letters, you know, mailing those out. And so, and we've automated that. I mean, we have a courthouse assistant getting the information, and we have a lady that manages mailing the letters out. Okay, so the whole process is automated. I mean, even down to when they respond to the letters, either they have a choice of going to a 24-hour recorded message hotline, or they can speak to live to, you know, one of our answering services that has our script and etc. But those are the two main categories.
So talking about the process that you go through, Jay, I think that you've broken it down to actually 5 steps for your system. So let's, you know, on the show, let's go ahead and share what those 5 steps are, so that the listeners can, you know, just follow the 5 steps as they go through. So what's that first step that you do?
The first step is get the foreclosure list and maintain it. So again, folks, at the online class, y'all can go, you know, watch when you're through with the show at jconner.com/foreclosure podcast. I'm really going to go into details, but here's the overview. Step number 1, Chaffee, is get the foreclosure list and maintain it. So since we don't have time here on the show, on the online class, I'll go into detail about what kind of information you need to get at the courthouse, what kind of information you need to track, and etc. So step 1, get it and maintain it. And we track them. We track these open files until they are closed or dismissed. So even when people file bankruptcy to, you know, stay the foreclosure process, we still track them because, Chaffee, unfortunately, as you know, even after people file for bankruptcy, unfortunately, most of the time, they do not keep the monthly payments that the judge put together, and then the house comes back up for sale, you know, on the courthouse steps.
Usually the bankruptcy is a foreclosure, is a stalling process just to keep them in the house a little bit longer. So
Exactly.
What's step 2, Jay?
Yeah. So you got the list, step 1. Now step 2, now we're going to market to the motivated sellers. And that's where the 8-letter direct mail campaign comes in. And so again, starting out, we did those letters ourselves. And if it's a new real estate investor or new to this process, you can do the letters yourself, but it's very, very easily automated.
So these 8 letters you've refined over the years, though, correct? I mean, it wasn't just you decided to sit down and write 8 letters and it worked, right? So, okay.
Actually, I started out with 1 letter, but I learned quickly that really part of the magic in marketing is sequential mailings, and so of course, I was only getting like 1/4 of the number of responders. I was missing out on 3/4 of the people responding. And of course, not only do sequential mailings work, no matter what business you're in and you're wanting to promote, these letters, each letter is now closer to their hearing or sale date. So as these letters are going out, their motivation is getting higher to do something, So yeah, the magic of the 8 letters gets the response.
So moving on then, in the interest of time, what's step number 3?
Yeah, step number 3 is now they respond. They respond. You have a conversation with them over the phone, and you talk about are they wanting to sell their house, etc. Do they need help with moving expenses? So you negotiate the deal. That's the step 3 is negotiating the deal. Go to the house, view the home, is there repairs. So you're going to, in step 3, you're going to use my analyzer software as to figure out what's the most you can offer on the house. And I will tell, I'll tell our viewers and listeners here, a lot of the time, people that are in foreclosure will sell their house for what they owe. They will sell their house for what they owe just to be done. Yeah. So get the foreclosure list, market to them with a direct mail campaign, and negotiate the deal.
Awesome. What's step number 4?
So step number 4 is get it under contract. All right. So control the property, get it under contract, get the offer to purchase. Depending on your exit strategy, are you going to get, use an option, to purchase, or are you going to use an offer to purchase? Most of the time I use an offer to purchase because I'm going to want to own the house. Okay. There's multiple ways to control it, multiple ways to buy it. We should do a show, Chaffee, soon on buying subject to the existing note, because we probably have a lot of viewers and listeners that have never heard of how you can control a property without having to use private money, buying subject to the existing note. So control the property, get an option, get it under contract, etc.
Awesome. And then step number 5 then.
Yeah. And the final step is now once you own the property, you've closed on it, or you're controlling it. Now you have multiple exit strategies. So, you can wholesale the deal, which, if viewers and listeners, if you don't know what wholesaling is, that's simply controlling the property and assigning your contract to another real estate investor, getting an assignment fee, and now you're out of the deal. You can wholesale it. You can, keep it and rehab it if it needs rehab. You can sell it on rent to own. So you have multiple exit strategies to choose from. And I go into those as well in detail on the online class that we just gave out, Chaffee.
Awesome. And so, Jay, real quick, just to tie it all back into private money, where can you use private money in this process? What steps can you use the private money in?
Sure. So some owners will not sell to you subject to the existing note. They won't let you control the property on buying it on a lease option, for example, or an option. They want, and some will not sell to you for what they owe. They want more than what they owe. Now, I will tell you, since they're in the foreclosure process, I'm not going to give them much money over what they do owe, because what we will tell sellers, Chaffee, is, well, when it goes to sell at the courthouse steps, how much money is your lender going to give you?
Right.
Lender's not going to give any money. So whatever money I give you, and it's like, and again, I'm not trying to take advantage of people. I want to help them, and I do. I'll help them with their moving expenses or whatever. But if they will not sell subject to the existing note, then I use my private money. Use the private money.
Now, you could use private money even if it's a subject to, if it's below the threshold, correct?
Absolutely, and I do that a lot. So let's say I buy it subject to the existing note, which, by the way, folks, excuse me, I got a frog, which simply means, in a nutshell, when we buy a house subject to the existing note, we buy the house, the deed or the title transfers into our entity, all right, our LLC, our land trust, whatever we're using. And the mortgage, the current mortgage, stays in the seller's name. And we agree to make their payments until we have a cash out buyer. And, you know, the question when I first learned about subject to, and not to get into subject to, but the first question I had was, who in the world is going to sell me their house and agree to leave the mortgage in their name and me make the payments? Well, the answer is a motivated seller that wants debt relief. You know, but yes, I'll buy a house subject to the existing note. Then I'll get private money from a private lender. And folks, if you don't know what private money or private lender is, just go listen to the 4 previous shows. We talk a lot about private money in the 4 previous shows. But I'll get, like, if it needs rehab or I need some carrying cost or marketing, you know, expenses covered, I'll get $25,000 or $30,000 from a private lender. And I'll give them a second mortgage in a junior lien position. And so I can have an existing mortgage in place and then the secondary mortgage. So I'm glad you asked that question. Again, folks, for the detail of this foreclosure system, just go to the online class, and it's in the show notes and as well. Chaffee, those are the 5 steps from the 30,000-foot view, but we're about running out of time, as we always do. What I like to do is, as we said, talk about some mindset, personal development. So I'm just gonna shoot you from the hip, Chaffee. All right. So here's my question. In your experience, and of course, y'all, I mean, Chaffee's been a real estate investor. What year did you start investing in real estate, Chaffee?
2002.
2002. So you've been doing it a long time as well. From your experience, especially for like a new real estate investor, what emotional challenges or what fears or what roadblocks might a new real estate investor be thinking about doing their first deal, their first foreclosure deal? And what's the best way for them to overcome that?
Wow, Jay, that's a big question.
I know. And we've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Well, let me break it down to 2 things that I think that are critical. First is the first thing that comes to mind is people, when they're first starting out, tend to overthink things. They tend to overanalyze things, and so they take no action. We call that paralysis analysis, or analysis paralysis. And so they have the system, they have this process, they have something, and they crunch the numbers, and it takes them 2 weeks to look at one deal, when the real investor, somebody like you, Jay, can take a look at it in 5 minutes and figure out this is a deal or not, right? And so you're looking at multiple deals in the time that it takes them to look one deal, and by the time they figure out, oh, this is a pretty good deal, somebody else already has the deal, right? So analysis paralysis. And so that brings up the key of using a system, a system like your foreclosure system, or a process that you've put together that walks them through step by step, so that your software, right, that analyzes it for them, so they don't have to think about it. They just follow the process. And that's the key for a beginning investor, is just following that process. And as I mentioned, the second thing is using a system, right? And when you have that system and you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing, you have a coach or mentor like you, Jay, right? Then you can use that system, ask any questions to your mentor or coach, and do the deal quickly, so that you're not sitting around paralyzed with this analysis process, and you're moving forward. So that's what I would recommend, is follow a system, get a mentor or coach that's going to help you use and implement that system, and then take massive action.
Awesome, Chaffee. You answered that a lot quicker than I could have. Because that was like a 30-second question for a 1-hour answer. So
Right.
that's good stuff. Well, Chaffee, we need to call this show a wrap. We are out of time, but parting comments.
Parting comments, like always, I said, if you like what you're hearing, rate, subscribe, comment, thumbs up, all the above. And as I mentioned in the last show, take action, right? Go to the free online training, learn more, and then start implementing. It really doesn't put any extra money in your pocket if all you do is listen all day long and don't do anything. So take that next step, listen to the class, get enrolled in the strategy session, and let us help you move forward.
Excellent. Chaffee, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here on the show. And folks, as we've said, go to www.jconnor.com/foreclosure podcast. So here's to seeing you all again on the upcoming show. If you really want to learn more about Chaffee and myself and why we're qualified to be delivering this information to you, go back a few podcasts and you'll hear all the background there. So again, thank you all for listening and viewing. And until we see you on the next show, here's to taking your business and your real estate investing and your mindset to the next level. Bye for now.